My name is Shane A. Bassett, and welcome. I'm the movie analyst, and I'm here with a bit of a legend in the movie world, Charles Band. G'day from Australia.
Yes, thank you. I'm surrounded by creatures and weirdness. I'm actually at my home office and looking at you. All you have is one little plant at the bottom of your screen. That's it.
I'm the worst when it comes to backdrops. I've got
Right,
like bookcases of movies. I've got vinyl records, soundtracks,
right.
and things, but I can't set them up properly. I don't know what it is.
That's all
Uh,
right. That's all right. Anyway, thanks.
but
And
it
I'm
looks.
sorry this took a while, but here we are.
Oh, look, that's okay. One of the outlets I report for in the UK has, well, we wanted to talk about AIMEE to begin with. AIMEE The
Okay.
Visitor. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, all about hacking and computers taking over, bots, virtual people. How did that story come about, or was it just one of your things that you thought, okay, we've got to do it. It's current.
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. I'm intrigued by, and I always have been intrigued by new technology. I'm not afraid of it. I think all this fear about AI, changing the world, and we're going to
Yeah,
have a Terminator. I think all of that is, uh, exaggerated. I mean, I think AI and all the new things that are coming from it, which I follow, will just be another tool or tools that you can use in the creative process. I mean, I understand how there are some areas where it may take over or replace what some humans do. I get
yeah,
that. But that happens every time there's some new amazing technology. Things change. That's progress. And I think AI is an amazing tool. So as I got wind of this about a year ago, I was intrigued. I saw some of what can be done. Again, a lot of what you think AI does, it can't really do. It can't really create a living, breathing, talking, credible actor. It's an
sure.
AI character, and but still interesting, but not like, oh, we're going to replace all these actors with AI. Now, what they can do, what AI can do, one of these programs is it can replicate imagery. I know one of the big issues with the Screen Actors Guild strike that's still going on is,
Yeah,
you can shoot, um, 100 people, crowd reactions, let's for the sake of a simple explanation, and then you can replicate that 100 to make it look like 1,000. That's something that AI and these programs can do really, really efficiently. So, I mean, I get all that, but I was intrigued by it. But I'm also intrigued by the fact that there's a lot of loneliness out there, and a lot of people are turning, towards these AI girlfriends. And right now, again, the AI girlfriend is not a living, speaking, cute
no,
chick. It's an image, and it's all text. You ask a question, and she responds, and yeah, eventually it'll be a visual facsimile of a girl or a guy, depending on what your taste is. So all of that is upon us. But I thought it was interesting, that I was able to, in the case of AIMEE,
yeah.
it's a horror movie, and at the end, Amy gets jealous, and Amy has all these human attributes, and sort of messes up with our protagonist's plans. But what was cool about that is, yes, I shot it like a normal movie, and yes, I had the actors, and everything was sort of the way you would normally do it. But the character of Amy on the computer screen was completely created in AI. There was no tricks. We didn't do CGI. We literally, with prompts, created her various characters, the various ways she looks,
Really?
and and then and even the voice was a selected voice amongst many you could choose from. So every shot of Amy was actually prepared before we shot the movie. So
Okay.
when the actors got to set, and there was a scene between 3 or 4 actors and Amy on the computer screen, which felt like it was being done, in real time, it was. She was, in a sense, pre-recorded, but they were performing against this AI character. And what's unique about that is, having made a gazillion special effects movies, usually the effects are either done later or they're augmented later. Many times actors have to perform to, a light, or this is where the monster is going to be. We're pretty organic. So a lot of my movies, puppet movies, puppet and doll films, we actually have, in many cases, the characters on set. But
Okay.
in the case of Amy, that was it. She had her lines down. She was created pre-production, and every one of those scenes was shot with her. the characters, and it was great dynamic on set because the actors got to really perform with her. You know, it wasn't that we didn't have to dial it in later, because if it was a year ago and I told this tale, we could kind of create an AIMEE and CGI. Wouldn't be as, I think, creepy as the true AI AIMEE, but all that would have had to have been done in post. So
Okay.
the actors would have to be performing against, you know, a blank blue screen or a
Well, that's what
green.
I thought had happened. That's what I was going to ask you. So it's pretty amazing it was done in real time with an actual
All
bot.
completely, yeah, all completely in real time, which was great to be involved with that project, and great for the actors, you know. And it was every time we shot a scene with AIMEE, it was like, well, that was really creepy and cool because it was there, you know, it was done.
Was the short running time a choice? Because I felt it could have gone on a bit longer and
You
explored a little
know,
bit more.
yeah. Look, we're with very meager budgets, we're trying to do the best we can. You know,
Yeah,
it's not an even playing field. I mean, our budgets are usually you know, the craft service budget of a major motion picture. I mean, we make movies, and you know, I shot this movie in 5 days. I think it looks really good,
yeah.
and yeah, it would have been great to have kind of another 20 minutes, you know, and develop a stronger third act. And but this is the best we could do with our budget. And yeah, it does go by, but I think it goes by pretty fast because it's kind of fun. It's entertaining, you know. I mean, an hour can be really slow if the material isn't very,
I guess.
well told. So
Yeah, yeah. What helps too is Faith West. I really like her. I hadn't seen her before, but she reminded me of Megan Ward from Crash and Burn.
well, you're talking to the guy who hired both of them and fell in
Yeah,
love with both of them as a director. Very true, very good comparison there. She's terrific. She's brand new. She's in her early 20s.
yep,
She's really a natural. She's really talented. Now, again, based on the character she played, you know, there was only so much she could do. But I've seen her recently in some other work, and she's very, very, very gifted. She's one of those actors who, you know, you just like watching her on screen. You know,
I like her. Yeah,
yeah, and we'll use her again for sure. Although she may, you never know, rocket to stardom like a lot of the girls I work with, and then be unaffordable. But you know, yeah. So she's very. I thought all three of them were good, and I like her a lot too.
yeah. I hope you do use her again, and you have a habit of using actors again and again, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. I really like that. Also, with AIMEE, did you get the funding? Do you fund the movies yourself within your own
Yeah.
organization, or do you outsource?
No, we struggle through all the funding. You know, I years ago, you know, you try over the many years I've been doing this, you try different formulas. You know, you can bring in investors. You
Yeah,
know, for a while we were funded by a bank, but the bureaucracy involved is so cumbersome and laborious. And whether you're dealing with people who in many cases don't really know the business, and then of course it's not like, oh, the movie's done and everyone splits up some money. That doesn't happen, especially today in the digital universe. You know, so it takes years sometimes to you know, recover the money and hopefully make
sure.
a
Yeah.
profit. It's more difficult than ever. You know, it was a lot easier in the direct to video days. So you're married to these people, these partners for years. So based on the level of movies and the budgets we're doing, we've been able to self-finance. And if you look historically, let's say the last 10 years, if we had a good year, maybe we made 7 or 8 movies. If it was a sucky year, maybe we made 3. You know, we've always
Okay.
been making movies, but it depends on the ebb and flow of our cash flow.
Would AIMEE be returning, do you think, or can you cross over AIMEE at any point?
I have a great sequel to AIMEE, but again, we'll see how it does. You know, I've made several movies. I've made many movies that have gone to sequel, many sequels in some cases, but there are others that, you know, I made a movie, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago called Trophy Heads it's one of my favorite films of my
Okay.
bizarre, you know, library of films. And I'd love to make a sequel because it kind of hit, I think, on a lot of notes. But you know, it's I don't know. There are new ideas as well that I'm excited about, and then there's the limitation of money. You know, we're self-funded, so you
Mm.
know, yeah, in the perfect world, you just get 20 movies going, but we have to also be careful and be conservative to stay. This is a really crazy business, you know.
Oh yeah,
It ebbs and flows. I mean, every 3 to 5 years, things drastically change. I mean, we were out in the cold for some years, as many were, when direct-to-video and the video store died.
of course,
That
yeah.
was a great era for us and for others. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't that it kind of got less and it just died. You know, when Blockbuster and Hollywood Video closed here in the US, and little by little stores, rental stores closed all over the world, that was
Mm.
really the end of an era. You know, it's not like, I think there were 40,000 video stores in the United States. And it's one thing to say, well, there's still some left. There's 4,000. There's nothing. You know, there's a few curio video rental stores, but there's nothing left. So there was a chunk of time in between streaming, which we were lucky to be early on involved with, and the demise of the direct-to-video business, where it was really, really tough hanging on. So
Oh
I'm glad
yeah.
streaming's here. It's still not my favorite, but rest assured, 3 to 5 years will be something different.
I think that VHS might make a resurgence. What about you? Like vinyl records are back. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very close to people who are in that business. Our domestic distributor, a physical distributor, you know, he's it just, yeah, I mean, it's great to have, again, you know, fans of physical media, but, you know, to put it in perspective, when we were distributed by Paramount in the early 90s, Full Moon, Paramount,
Yeah.
just in the United States, you know, there were movies that shipped, you know, 50 to 70,000
Oh yeah.
VHSs and later on DVDs. Today, VHS is gone. Yes, there are people, and it's a miracle if you sell 500 VHSs to, you know, collectors. Just like I'm sure there's still some humans left that have a collection of 78 RPM records. I'm sure that exists as well somewhere.
Right.
But you know, if you ship today, if we ship 1,000 DVDs or Blu-rays of a movie, and we do put almost every one of our movies out, probably every one of our movies out on disc, that's
Okay.
a lot. So it's 1,000 as compared to 50, 60, 70,000 20 years ago. So that's not where the business is. It's a curio, and it's cool to support that. But right now, people are in the habit of, they have to subscribe to a million streaming channels, but they subscribe, and they're with one thumb they're accessing you know, programming.
Of course. Do you ever get called out for making too many movies by your peers? Or have you ever thought about making using the budget for one of your 70-minute movies and putting it together for a 90-minute feature and theatrical
The
releasing it?
running time no longer is much of an issue to
Right.
anyone. You know, again, if it was back in the direct-to-video days, it needed to be at least 72 minutes was
Yeah,
sort of
okay.
a magical number. And most of our movies probably hovered around 80. But today, you know, no one's there saying, well, wait a minute, I'm paying only $6.99 a month to be on
Right.
your streaming site. I have access to 1,000 movies. Gosh darn it, one of these movies is only 60 minutes, you know, it's not a
Okay, yeah.
movie. I mean, so if it's entertaining, and listen, I'm a big advocate for short and sweet, to me is better than these long 2.5 to 3 hour movies. I mean, I love going to the theater still, but you know, sometimes you sit there going, is this thing over yet? And you look at your watch, it's another hour.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's something to be said about, I think, low budget, fun, high concept exploitation movies should have a relatively short running time. Yeah, 60 minutes generally is a little too little, 70 to 80 is probably better. But no, I like experimenting with new ideas and giving also new directors a shot. So yeah, I could say, okay, instead of making 8 movies next year, which is probably what we'll do, let's
Okay.
just spend all the money on one, you know. But that's not what we've done here at Full Moon, you know. So we're you know, I think a lot of these shows turn out really clever, and I'm excited about several that are coming out. There's a movie that it's a sort of a send up of all these Sharknado films. It's
Oh,
going to be
really?
announced next week. Oh, it's great. It's called Bad CGI Gator, and it's what
Okay.
the title says, and it's really clever, very well done, and I think it's going to be, and it's very, I think, appeals to everyone. It's great escapism. It's kind of a horror comedy, so that one is fun. That's around, and there are others that are in various stages of production
Yep.
and pre-production. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to make 8 or 10 fun escapism little puff pastries next year.
Well, you know, Australia has some of the most deadliest creatures in the world. If you're looking at making a creature feature, you could come down under.
I know. That's a journey, but I'm open to anything that makes sense. And we have we're just now closing a deal, I hope, because the American film market is going on right now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we have a wonderful distributor named AMP Alliance. They're a UK company. And we just closed the deal, I believe, today with a really great Australian distributor.
Okay.
I wish I remember the name, but I think this is going to open up a lot of our movies now. Because, for a while we were everywhere because the direct-to-video business was everywhere and very healthy. When
Oh,
that
yeah.
waned, it changed everything. But now we're sort of getting back in the major countries with good distribution. So I think for sure Australia, New Zealand will be seeing a
Well,
bunch of our movies sort of reintroduced and some of the new ones as well.
the UK have a lot too, but in Australia, there's Umbrella, there's Madman,
Yeah,
there's
it's Umbrella.
Umbrella. Okay, well, you're in good hands. Put it that way.
Good. Yeah, Umbrella's the distributor. We also have announced a movie we're shooting in January, a little ambitious for us, called Barbenheimer.
Now, I knew this was coming. I just had to think, well, Full Moon are definitely doing something about Barbie and Oppenheimer, and sure enough, I saw it on
Yeah,
your agenda.
yeah. It's the script is terrific. We're pre-selling some of it now at the American film market. It's
Yep.
very clever. It'll be fun. I like to, within our genre, mix it up a little, and that's also coming up real soon.
Who's playing Barbie? Can you tell me?
We're literally, I have a pretty good idea, but the problem is, like everything else in this town, it's hung up by the Screen Actors Guild strike.
Oh,
So,
yeah, sure.
even if we were totally set, I couldn't really talk about it, and the actors couldn't really talk about. They're prohibited from they're even prohibited, as you know, from going and attending the premiere of a movie that was shot before
Of
there was a
course.
strike. So
Yeah,
to
no.
me, I don't want to get into that. That's kind of silly, but yeah. So we probably won't be able to. I mean, hopefully the strike's over soon, and we'd like to shoot it in probably January, February.
As it, I'm aware of time, though, but I've got a few more questions. Are you affected? Is Full Moon affected by the strike, or because you're using mostly indie actors,
Yeah, well,
does it not happen?
we're no. I mean, I think everyone to some degree is affected.
Yeah,
My heart goes out to a lot of the people who in this town especially are involved in the process of movie making, who aren't writers or actors, but they're all the support people,
yeah,
costumers, and these people are on the verge of going out of business. You can't, a lot of businesses, are hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck. And for people to be sort of out of work for months is really difficult for a lot of people. So
it's so sad. Yeah,
yeah, it is. So I'm affected in that way. I mean, my heart goes out to all those people. I'm not a big fan of these strikes. That's a different conversation. And no, it doesn't affect our process because we have a pretty amazing selection of talent
yeah,
that are happy to work, strike or no strike. And we're so underneath the radar. We make very small movies. These strikes and Screen Actors Guild and all this stuff is built for the big movies that are multi-million-dollar movies. No one really cares about these small movies. So luckily, in that
okay.
respect, we are not affected.
I think more people care about them than you think, especially around the world. I know you're based in the US, but people love your stuff and talk
Well,
about it
thank
all
you.
the time. Charles
Thank
Band,
you.
you've been associated with me growing up with movies, like you said, in the VHS store to DVD store.
Well,
Uh,
thank you. No, I'm not putting down what we're doing. I'm just saying
no,
um, we're just in a different realm when it comes to what we do and how we operate.
mm,
Um, than the way major studios are built and major independents and major streaming sites.
of
They're
course.
subject to tons of different, unions and rules and protocol. And you notice every big movie recently has 8 or 10 executive producers. I mean, where do they all come from? So it's a different world, and yeah, in that world, people have their grievances and they do what they have to do to get more money. I get all that, but we're
Yeah.
not in that world.
You've had a long association with Tim Thomason.
Yes.
Really liked him in pretty much everything. And Future Cop, well, Trancers in Australia was called Future Cop. I'm not sure if
Yes.
you're aware of that.
I'm aware.
Yeah, yeah. And so, Tim, how's he doing? Do you still see him?
Tim and I talk on occasion. I'm going to be seeing him next month. He's
Yep,
had some health issues,
yep,
and but I think he's pulling out of that. He's just such a great guy. I mean, the most fun I've ever had, and I don't want to put down any of my hundreds of movies and all the people I've worked with, but
yeah,
pretty much the most fun I've had as a director has been on the set of Trancers 1 and 2, both
yeah,
with Tim and with Helen Hunt.
yeah,
A lot of fun to work with. We were laughing all the time. It was a great relationship. And then, of course, we made Dollman, which was Thomerson again. And then I thought, well, wait a minute,
Zone Troopers.
let's do Dollman versus the Demonic Toys. So we,
Yeah,
way before Marvel was doing this, early '90s, we paired up and took two of our franchises. So Thomerson always was the joke around. He goes, Charlie, one day we should make a movie where it's Dollman versus Jack Death. Let me figure out who kicks whose ass. And anyway, he was all off on some tangent about obviously playing both characters, but no, he's a joy to work with, and he's like the perfect sort of hero who also has a great sense of humor, who was sort of
yeah,
magic on even on the little screen.
yeah. No, I'm glad to hear he's doing well. I don't see him around much these days on
Right,
movies. Zone Troopers was another one too, obviously.
right.
That little bit underrated. Um, I do think that I wouldn't have seen this, only that I'd heard that it was one of your favorite movies, Head of the Family.
It
Uh,
is.
I avoided that for years, not avoided it, but I just didn't see it for years and years. I remember the VHS and the DVD cover, but I watched it recently, and you're right. It's captivating, much more than I expected, and intriguing and fun.
Thank you. I'm lucky in that, I've never really followed the trend. People in the '90s would say, you got to make a slasher movie. They're making a fortune. It just wasn't appealing to me. So luckily, a lot of these movies I've made over the years have stood the test of time. They play today like we made them last year. I mean,
Mm,
Head of the Family, I think it was 20 years ago. They're kind of timeless little entertainments. And I'm particularly fond of that movie because it kind of represents everything that I enjoy. I mean, it has a dark sense of humor. It's not overly violent. It's clever, and you can't say, "Oh, I've seen a whole bunch of movies like Head of the Family." There's no other movie like Head of the Family. It's
no,
about
there's not.
that's it. So and I have a great sequel written, which one day I hope to be able to make. Um,
Okay.
it's called Bride of the Head of the Family, and I wanted to make it some years ago, and that's kind of when the video business kind of went sour. But that's one of my pet projects that I very much like to make.
Well,
Hopefully next.
if you do bring back Lenore, please.
Yes, yes, yes. No, we'll have to try to bring them all back. I mean, Jackie Lavelle, she's done some great shows. She's such a
Yeah.
character. Of course, everyone's 20 plus years older, but Jackie also. I did another movie that's sort of in that realm that I like a lot called Hideous. I'm not sure if you've seen Hideous.
Okay. No,
If you
I'll
liked
get
Head of the Family, you will really like Hideous. And
I'll
Hideous
get onto
is
that.
also same director, me, same writer, Jackie Lavelle, and the lead is the actor Michael Citroniti, who played the head of the family. So it's
Yeah.
sort of the head of the family troupe in a different movie, very different storyline, but another film that is probably amongst my top, if not 20, maybe my top 10 that
Yeah.
I
No,
enjoy watching.
I heard that.
Every so often, I have a pretty big family. Hey, let's watch an old full moon movie. I go, oh God, no, it's the last thing I want to do. But when I'm forced to say, okay, which one instead of Puppet Master or Ghoulies or Trancer, well, Trancers comes up. I say, well, let's watch Hideous or Head of the Family, and people discovered for the first time.
Oh, Meridian is good. Metal Storm holds up.
Mhm.
So you've
Yeah,
got enough to choose from, mate.
yeah. I'm going to make another. Yes, I'm going to make another. We today we call them paranormal romances. That's what Meridian would have been called back in the day.
Yeah,
Back then, kind of called them Harlequin romances, but Harlequin is a company, so
it is.
there's a big audience, and for this kind of gothic romance thing. And I'm going to shoot one of those for sure next year in Italy.
A couple more before we wrap up. It like the Toxic Avenger has recently been remade, obviously Troma
Right,
film. If
right.
any of your older movies, you could pick one to get a big Hollywood overdo, what would you pick one you'd like to see
I'd
done as
pick
a blockbuster?
I'd pick maybe 10. I'm ambitious. So
Yeah.
we do have a deal that I can't talk about because of the stupid strike for Trancers. It's a big reboot, a big budget, a very
Wow.
well-known writer director. It's under option right now. So Trancers is already on the launch pad. Now again, you never know. These are option deals where someone paid pretty good money to be able to make a big reboot of Trancers. So I would say, in no particular order, Puppet Master, especially today with the huge success of these Blumhouse movies and Megan, and now this weekend with Five Nights at whatever the hell it's called, huge hit.
Freddy's.
Yeah. So I would say Puppet Master, Trancers, uh, again, Demonic Toys. I would also look at even older movies like Tourist Trap,
Yeah.
Ghoulies, some of the other franchise movies. With very little money, we made a series called Subspecies in Transylvania, and I think it's one of the better vampire stories. And I think again, a reboot with a big budget of Subspecies would be cool. There's a whole bunch. I'd have to go through the list, but there's probably a good. I mean, there's a lot that are in this. Dollman would be fantastic. The premise is you saw Dollman, I think, right? You said
Of
that?
course, yes.
So Dollman, the premise is golden, and no one's done it yet. No one is, and I'm always afraid someone's going to.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of a Clint Eastwood type, Dirty Harry type cop on his planet gets messed around with and heads off on some chase through space and crash lands on Earth, and he's got the attitude of that machismo, but he's 12 inches tall.
Right.
I think that sets up that should be a series. So I think with a lot of good luck, we may see some of this happen over the next few years, and then people will discover sort of Full Moon mainstream, because Full Moon has been sort of I wouldn't say a well-kept secret, but it's not been a mainstream label.
Still under the radar, like you said. Under the radar. Stuart, I mean, your association with Stuart Gordon too. Did you learn a lot of Stuart back in the day? Like it was great, some of the work you did together.
Yeah. Well, it was always a good collaboration. I would come up with ideas and titles, because it always starts with a poster and a title.
Yeah.
I'll never forget when I came to him after we had made Dolls and From Beyond and Reanimator and Robot Jocks, Pit and the Pendulum. I said, we got to make another movie and use this incredible castle location. So I had a piece of art, like I do, made up, and my title was Castle Freak, And then we tried to figure out how to tell the story. And, I think that's one of our better movies, in our library.
Yeah, it's in my top 10 of Full Moon movies and Charles Band produced films, that's for sure. All right, well, thank you very much. Any final words on AIMEE? Anything you can let the UK public why they should watch AIMEE?
No, I think, well, yeah, I'm very bad at pitching any of that. So what I would say,
that you bad at pitching? Come on.
No, but I mean, I always forget. I just like, you're intriguing and good questions. I would say, what people can do to support independence, there's only a few of us left, I think there's two, is subscribe to our channel. It's fullmoonfeatures.com. You can get it all over the world. It's $6.99 a month. It's affordable. We not only have hundreds and hundreds of the Full Moon movies, we've also licensed all sorts of really clever movies that have been made since the 60s. So I don't know how many are up there, 800, 900 for $6, whatever, pounds, £6 probably, more or less a month. You get this plethora of exploitation fare, and we release a new movie every month practically. So anything, I mean, if you want to, and we have all this stuff that most people can't find. Like, obviously we have every one of our franchise movies up, every Puppet Master movie up, but we also have miles of behind the scenes material, stuff we shot, because I was really early on shooting that. I was kind of the first back in the late 80s shooting and then publishing behind the scenes material at the end of a VHS tape, which no one did that. What are you doing? I said, no, the fans are going to like it.
They do, yeah.
Later on, it became a DVD added feature. The world changed. But yeah, just subscribe to Full Moon Features, .com, and you'll find just an endless amount of bizarre entertainment.
No, I'm glad to hear that. And maybe you can, all this resurgence of what everything old is new again, you can bring some 3D back. I mean, Metal Storm was released in the cinema in Australia in 3D, and it was a hit.
Right. Well, unfortunately, not every single movie do I own anymore. So Metal Storm is owned by Universal, but there are two other movies that I shot in 3D that few people saw in 3D, and we're bringing them both back next year.
Parasite was one, I think.
One is The Creeps. The Creeps is a terrific movie, clever again. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's about four, famous monsters of literature, really. Frankenstein, Shelley's Frankenstein, and Wolfman and the Werewolf. Anyway, there's a mad scientist type who figures out that if he gets the original manuscripts of the work by Shelley and others and puts them into his hocus pocus machine, out will come these creatures. I'm doing it injustice. It's a little more clever in the movie. The bummer for him is that something goes wrong, and all the creatures come out as dwarfs. They're all like 3.5 feet tall, but with all the same attributes. And so it's a fun, clever movie. And I shot it in 3D, but because the theaters weren't interested at that time, this was before the more recent resurgence of 3D, we couldn't play it. But that is going to come out. We're going to have a 3D disc release of The Creeps.
Fantastic.
And the other movie that's I shot in 3D that's totally fun, that again, other than 2 theaters here, we never released it in 3D, is Evil Bong 3D. Because Evil Bong is, believe it or not, our most successful franchise after Puppet Master. I've made 9 of them. And people do smoke weed, and it's a silly escapism. And Evil Bong 3 we shot in 3D. And that one's coming out as well.
Well, to wrap it up, I can't go and leave you without saying that you have an eye for female casting. Sherilyn Fenn, Megan Ward.
Yes.
I mean, Faith West, obviously, Barbara Crampton.
Yes.
It's endless. So if nothing else, thank you.
Yeah, well, we got to keep casting, talented actresses.
Yeah,
and I have a certain.
They are talented.
Look, it's yes, it's about many things, but you look at someone for 80, 90 minutes, you look at their face, there's I don't know I couldn't even write a book about it. It's just, you have to, yes, it's not easy. Nothing's easy in this business, but if you're in the realm of being able to afford tried and proven amazing actresses, let's bring on Margot Robbie. We all know she's gorgeous and beautiful, but discovering
and an Australian.
And Australian. Well, that's why I chose her for my little analogy here. But when it comes to new talent, it's not that easy, because you'll see 50, 60 girls, if the part requires a young girl for a part, and you have to be able to kind of sift through what makes some kind of sense. So I'm glad I've been able to, and then some of these girls that I worked with the first time all went on to be huge stars. I mean, Demi Moore, her first movie was Parasite, and Julie Louis-Dreyfus, her first movie was Troll. I mean, aside from the ones you mentioned, that we all know about, and Helen Hunt and all that stuff. So onwards. Next year will be an exciting year. And guys, just $6.99 a month. That's dollars. Just fullmoonfeatures.com. It's real easy.
Well, thank you, Mr. Band. I will help promote it for you.
I appreciate it. And stay tuned. There's some fun stuff with Barbenheimer and Bad CGI Gator. And we're making, of course, another Puppet Master. The next 3 or 4 months, we pretty much have a movie plan to shoot every month.